Well, good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Richard Cruz, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Squadron Leader Rob Saunders. We warmly welcome Miss Yamila Osorio Delgado and the accompanying delegation who are in attendance this evening. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors and students on behalf of the Rotary Adventure in Citizenship program. Australia's Federation Guard is a tri-service ceremonial unit of the Australian Defence Force. They provide a ceremonial presence at civil and military events and during visits to Australia by foreign dignitaries. The Guard will now dismount the catapult party from the tomb of the unknown Australian soldier within the Hall of Memory. I invite you all to please stand and join in singing the national anthem.
Catapult Party attention! Catapult Party present! Arms!
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are young and free. We've golden soil and
Shoulder, arms. Catapult party order, arms.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Flying Officer George Dudley Rawson. George Dudley Rawson was born on the 10th of March 1924 in the Sydney suburb of Leichhardt, the son of George and Annie Rawson. On the 9th of October 1942, at the age of 18, Rawson enlisted into the Royal Australian Air Force. After initial training at Bradfield in Sydney's north and Temora, north of Wagga Wagga, he began training as a wireless air gunner at Parkes and Port Pirie in South Australia. In late 1942, Rawson sailed from Australia for England, where he continued his training and received a promotion to the rank of flying officer. In November 1944, he joined the Royal Australian Air Force's Number 467 Squadron. Number 467 Squadron was part of Bomber Command and flew Avro Lancaster heavy bombers, principally in nighttime raids on German targets in occupied Europe. Before Rawson's arrival, the squadron had assisted in the D-Day landings of June 1944, conducting preparatory bombings on German positions in occupied France, and then bombing targets across Europe once the invasion had begun. On the 4th of December 1944, 17 days after joining his squadron, Rawson took part in a nighttime bombing raid on Heilbronn, an important rail hub in southern Germany. Rawson served as a wireless operator in the Avro Lancaster O for Oboe, which took off shortly before 5 p.m. As Rawson's aircraft approached its target, it came under attack from a German Junker 88 fighter aircraft from a night fight squadron. O for Oboe's pilot, Flying Officer John Plumridge, immediately commenced a corkscrew manoeuvre in an attempt to shake off the enemy attackers. The tail and mid-turret machine gunners opened fire on the enemy, successfully warding off the German aircraft, and the Lancaster continued on its path towards Heilbronn. Soon afterwards, however, Rawson's aircraft came under renewed attack, this time from Fighter Afe Oberlieutenant Peter Spodden, a German pilot responsible for shooting down 25 Allied aircraft during the Second World War. Spodden's attack damaged O for Oboe's engines, which burst into flames. As the Lancaster rapidly lost altitude, the crew were ordered to parachute out. O for Oboe crashed into farmland in Minchheim, west of the Rhine River in Germany, and exploded on impact, leaving a 2-metre deep crater and a burning crash site. The only member of the crew to survive was Flight Sergeant Penman, who had parachuted from the plane before it crashed. He spent the remainder of the war in a German prisoner of war camp. The rest of the 7-man crew, including George Rawson, died on impact. George Rawson was 20 years old. Today, his remains lie buried in Dornbach War Cemetery in Bavaria, where nearly 3,000 soldiers of the Second World War now lie. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour to my left, amongst almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. A photograph of his headstone is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Flying Officer George Dudley Rawson, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and for the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
Party shoulder.
They shall grow not old, as we that left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Catapult party present. Arms.
lest we forget.
lest we forget.
Catapult party outwards. Turn. Catapult party quick. March.
We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes this evening's last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.